Hey folks, welcome to another POLYPATCH with Polydata. Today we're going to be making a patch together that was on my Instagram page and here on YouTube, I think, a couple months ago. And I got a request to do a POLYPATCH for this sound. So we'll build it together today, and it's kind of a patch where there's square wave LFO doing a trill type of thing up and down a perfect fifth with the two oscillators, and at the same time there's a kind of a swell happening with the filter and amplifier envelopes, and it sounds pretty cool. So let's get started. We have a basic patch right now with just one sawtooth, so first thing we want to do is add our second oscillator, and we want these to be tuned the same, but just give it a little bit of detune. You don't want too much, just a little bit of fatness, a little bit of phasing, but you don't want it to get too busy like that. So that's a pretty good starting point. Let's start dialing in our filter here. So to really give it that big swell, we definitely want to use our filter envelope. And we want this to be a bit low, so it's starting low and has a lot of space to really do that sweep. And so yeah, we definitely want some attack to kind of a slow fade in. And then, but we also want it to not just go up, we want it to go down a bit too, to really have movement the whole time. Because like this, it just goes up and then it stays static until you let it go. So it'd be nice if it had like a slow kind of fall. And you want to have this to kind of have the fall be gradual, or it'll be, fade in and then drop down to whatever you have your sustain set to. So we want, and of course this type of patch will work best for kind of longer notes, more space, because it needs time to do what it's doing. If you're playing something faster, it's not really going to work. You would have to dial it in to that particular type of phrase or music. So we want to now give it some release, and we got to dial in our amp envelope here too. And you kind of have to decide how you want the relationship between these two envelopes. With the attack lower on the amp envelope, you really hear the full sweep, because it's kind of like the volume is up as soon as you hit the keys, and then you will hear the full sweep happening. Well, I'll give some resonance just to demonstrate it more. So you can really hear the whole thing happening from the beginning. If you want to have a volume fade as well, and you have this turned up a lot, you won't get that same effect of hearing the full filter sweep, because the volume will also be fading in. So you're kind of getting that volume fade in. So I think we do want to kind of hear more of the filter sweep in all its glory. So have this be a bit lower. And also you have to think about the relationship between your two releases. If this is a bit lower, you're going to hear the filter closing before the amp closes. And turn up the resonance, you can hear it more dramatically. So you can hear the filter closing, wow, like that before the sound is off. So I don't really want that for this sound, so I want to make sure this is a bit longer. And it kind of has that nice tail. And it's not quite getting bright enough. It kind of it gets bright, it kind of adds this excitement and energy to it, and kind of like a sonic explosion or whatever. So I'm gonna give it some more space to really go up with those high frequencies. Bring this down a bit. Something you have to take into consideration is, depending where the release is set, will kind of affect how this patch plays out in the music, because the way it works is, if the envelope hasn't gone through its full cycle, if the release isn't finished going all the way back down to the bottom, then when you hit another key, it's just going to re-trigger from wherever it's at. It's not going to go back to 0 suddenly. So if you have your release really long and there's not enough space between your next chord for it to kind of fall down a bit, the next chord will be kind of bright from the start, because it's still, the envelope is still kind of up. It hasn't fallen back down all the way. So you can hear that here. See, like those subsequent ones are starting out a bit brighter because this hasn't fallen back down all the way. So then it's starting again from whatever that point is. But then conversely, if you have it so it falls back down really fast, it'll start back down from, it'll have a chance to go back to 0. But then that also kind of doesn't work, at least for what I'm making for this particular patch, because if you're playing something kind of slow, it's really awkward to have it just shut off like that. So you kind of have to find a happy balance that fits whatever particular song or phrase you're playing. And of course, like if you want that effect of kind of like having a tail and filling in the space, and you know, the release has partly to do with that, but also using things like reverb and delay that can kind of extend the sound can also help with that kind of effect. A little bit more. That's a pretty good starting point there. And you can kind of hear the envelopes the timings don't match like super accurately, because that's with analog envelopes, you know, depending from one envelope chip to another, the integrated circuits aren't going to be like digital envelopes where it can be super precise. But that also kind of is part of the charm. So we can go over to the modulation section now. We're going to use a square wave here, and we're going to be sending this to both oscillators. And we're going to dial in the interval, the amount of modulation, with the mod wheel here. So basically all the way up, at least on this sense, gives you a perfect fifth. And for this sound, we're going to want this to be a bit faster. So now that we're kind of getting more to completing the patch, it's kind of, you can kind of see where you need to fine tune things. Like, I think this needs to be a bit faster. Maybe just a tad slower. Maybe get it, use a bit more envelope here to make it a bit brighter. sound pretty good. So here you can really see, like, you have to kind of find a happy balance here, because especially with a patch like this where there's this modulation happening, it's already kind of busy. If you have too much detune, it can get a bit too busy sounding and like kind of smeared, which maybe you want that, but for this patch I think it's, you gotta make sure you don't have too much detune. Sounding pretty good, and you can experiment with different things, like maybe sending it to just one oscillator if you don't want it to be as dramatic. It's a bit more subdued. Or you can also experiment with different intervals, like I think a whole tone sounds pretty cool. So that is pretty cool, but you have to make sure it fits in the context of whatever you're doing, because the intervals are closer together and it can kind of become kind of crowded or maybe dissonant in certain contexts. Fifth is much more safe because it's a very consonant interval, so it works in many contexts. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you are into these styles of patches, I have a lot of sound banks available in the Polydata Store. I'll put the link for the store up here for lots of different plugins, soft synths, but also for a lot of different hardware synths. And all the sound banks, I have demos on this YouTube page demonstrating all the patches. So you can check out what they sound like and hear all the patches before you buy them. And if you're into this sort of stuff and keeping up to date with Polydata, you can go follow on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next PolyPatch.